Hi, my name is Kelly Fradin, and I'm a pediatrician and a mom. You might have found me on Instagram under the handle Advice I Give My Friends, because that's what I've been doing here on social media, sharing the kinds of advice that I give my friends. And today I'm happy to join you to talk about one of the most common issues my friends have been asking about, which is anxiety in our children. Last spring, I was Zoom schooling my kindergartner, working from home, and watching my 2-year-old with minimal support. And I realized that families all over were going to be dealing with the same stress. So that's why I wrote my book, Parenting in a Pandemic: How to Help Your Family Through COVID-19. Keeping up with the coronavirus news is a full-time job in and of itself. So it has a lot of information to help you understand the science. And I share a lot of advice and updates on my Instagram account at Advice I'd Give My Friends. So I'd love for you to follow me there. So many families and children were floating along doing just fine before the pandemic hit. But what's important to understand is that the stress and the change and the uncertainty of the past year has presented a new challenge for many of us. If you had to ask me to name one concern for children right now, it would be that they're facing unprecedented levels of anxiety. And while we could be really upset about this, we can also view it as an opportunity to grow and to teach our children coping skills that will carry them through the rest of their lives, all their ups and downs to come. So let's dive in. So first off, I think it's important that we approach the stigma of anxiety and mental health problems directly. A lot of people, even though they know that mental health problems are common and anxiety is common, they still have a hesitancy to diagnose this in their family members. And that's understandable. But at the same time, by making that leap to recognize it as an issue for your child, you open up a whole new world of resources and people who can support you and your child through this process. So I think it's important sometimes to say, well, maybe this is anxiety. Because once you know it's anxiety, you can get more help and you can get more strategies. So what does anxiety look like in young children? A 4-year-old is probably not going to come and say, Mom, I'm feeling a little stressed today. So we need to use our judgment as adults to recognize when our children are having anxiety. Much more commonly, a child might say, I'm having a headache, or my tummy hurts, or they might say that they don't want to go to the normal activities that they enjoy. Children who are anxious may show you rather than tell you. They may act clingier than normal and have more difficulty separating. They may be looking for more comfort and climbing into bed with you more often than they did. Children can have trouble sleeping, or regressions where they were previously toilet trained and suddenly they're having accidents. All of these are common ways that we see children present with anxiety. So let's say that you've recognized these issues in your children. What should you do? Anxiety feels like a heavy topic to discuss with the child, but how we approach it will affect how the children feel about being prepared to meet this problem. So it's important that we have an upbeat and positive tone as we approach this. When a child is in the moment, having a meltdown or feeling really, really stressed, that's not the best time to introduce new concepts like identifying emotions or teaching coping skills. So even if you're recognizing it in a moment when you're struggling, the best thing to do is probably support your child until a moment where they're feeling better, more well-rested, and more prepared to have a more serious discussion. The topic that you introduce to your child will depend on where they are in their maturity spectrum. So if your child doesn't know how to label their feelings, that's a great place to start. Some books like The Color Monster are great at teaching children how to think about their emotions with colors and pictures and how to tie feelings into words. It's an important skill for all children. Helping your child learn to label their anxiety is a powerful intervention in itself. If your child can recognize, my anxiety is making me feel this way, or my worry monster is making me feel this way, then they can talk back to it and say, I know I'm feeling this way, but I know I'm going to be okay. Or I need my worry monster to calm down, so I'm going to use one of the tools my mom taught me about. I'll get to the tools in a minute, but first I want to make sure we understand, and as we talk to our children, we teach them that feelings are normal. Anxiety is an adaptive response to help us deal with problems, but that doesn't mean that it's something we want all the time. It can help us to take the good from situations and leave behind the bad. So anxiety might make our heart race because we're getting geared up to fight against a problem. And while that is an adaptive emotion, sometimes that might feel uncomfortable. So understanding that this is normal is going to make your child feel safe, which is really just essential to making sure they feel happy. The other thing we can teach our children about anxiety and worries is that it's okay to feel them and they will get better. We can normalize the fact that worries are like rainstorms. Sometimes they come and they soak us, and then the next day the sun comes out. That just because we feel bad in the moment doesn't mean we're going to feel that way forever. That can alleviate a child's fears about the way they're feeling and make it less overwhelming. Now on to those tools. So I've taught my children that breathing is one of the best ways we can control our worry monster. So let me talk to you about how I told them to practice their breathing. I'm going to use a doll of my daughter's to demonstrate this technique. So I asked my daughter to lay on her back, and I take a stuffed animal or a honey and I put it on her tummy. Then I tell her to take a really big deep breath in and see the honey go up, up, up high, and then breathe out and the honey comes back down. So have her do it 5 or 10 times when she's feeling well, and it will help her learn to control her breath. Then when she's stressed or having a tantrum, I can say, why don't you go take some big belly breaths with your buddy and see if that helps you feel better. Breathing certainly isn't the only coping strategy. If your child is older or more mature, or you're working with them over a period of time, you may be able to build their toolbox with other coping skills. Listening to music, calling a friend, going outside, cuddling with your parents. There are so many different things kids can do to feel better. And some kids will really feel empowered if you provide them with a reminder. So you can make like a simple wheel like this, which can give your child some options. So, you can post this over in the pantry or wherever in your home might be an easy accessible spot for your child. And then they say, like, when I'm worrying, what can I do? And it's a reminder of all the options they have available. You can customize it based on what your child knows and what works for them. And you can add to it over time or draw little pictures to make it more fun. All this said, if your child is struggling or having anxiety, or if you are, please don't forget that during a pandemic, help is still available. You can often find mental health resources just by looking on your insurance card on the back and calling the number, or you can ask your pediatrician or friends to recommend someone who may be near you. I just don't want people to think that because we're in our homes more than ever, we're alone in this. Yes, as a parent, you have the power to help your child learn healthy emotions and healthy coping skills, but you're not their therapist and you're not their doctor. So don't be scared to ask for help because help's still available. Thanks for listening, and I hope you found this helpful. If you did, I'd love it if you'd check out my book, Parenting in a Pandemic. I have whole chapters about how to support your child's social and emotional development during this time, and resource lists in the back with lots of ideas for age-appropriate books for children learning to deal with anxiety, because it's a huge issue right now for all of us. So good luck and stay well.